have been recognized. I now recognize myself for 5 minutes of questioning. My first question is to Mr. Jones. The cartels have essentially taken over a lot of the drug networks inside many of the United States cities. If you look at some headlines just in the past few weeks about San Francisco alone, they basically have seized control and are coordinating with the gangs to seize control of the drug trade in San Francisco. They've essentially taken over all the criminal networks, much like a mafia. The Attorney General, Merrick Garland, has admitted to the Senate that the cartel strategy was to flood the Border Patrol, and by tying up Border Patrol, because Border Patrol now is doing basically a catch and release system, then the drug cartels will slip people around the other side. Can you tell us how this policy of the open border and this strategy of the cartels have combined to allow them to basically take over crime in the cities?
Chairman, the way it works on your southwest border, you hear the term all the time, operational control. The problem is no one ever tells you what that means and how the cartels have it, and that's what I'm going to share with you here today. And then to answer your question, and that is that they utilize a network known as the Halcon network. Halcons are scouts, they're lookouts. They check on and off, just like law enforcement, anywhere from 8-hour shifts, 10-hour shifts, 12-hour shifts. I've seen them in South Texas as far as 30 miles into the United States. I have seen them in Arizona as far as 70 miles. They leverage two-way handheld encrypted radios, sometimes encrypted apps, and they communicate back to what is known as Central. So what happens is you have these lookouts everywhere. And when what they call the gate is open, the gate meaning a bend in the river or a bend at your border, when there is no law enforcement, they surge with whatever commodity it is that they want to push. So when you're talking about based on the policies of all of these migrants that have come from all over the world, what is happening is the cartel by design will push hundreds of people, as you have seen on every news station over the last few years, and media focuses on that. That causes the surge of local, state, and federal law enforcement to that location, and they do that by design because it opens up the other gates. Now, if they're going to move a commodity directly linked to a cartel boss, they'll shut down more gates to ensure that commodity makes it in. And what they do, Chairman, is they contract directly with U.S.-based street gangs and what we call Tier 1 gangs. Those are gangs which impact multiple regions in our country. They work directly with the cartels. And today, it is very important to understand, your U.S.-based street gangs are working side by side, contracting with the cartels. And I could go on and on here, but in 2009, MA, Mexican Mafia, I was a lieutenant in Laredo, Texas, over 2 major drug squads as the war broke out between CDG and the Zetas. And we were stunned at what we found. We had Mexican Mafia working in Mexico, working operations, going through basic, intermediate, and advanced training from former special forces and law enforcement, conducting hits in the United States and getting reduced costs of cocaine for that. That is the way it really works. So when you wonder today why you are being overrun with drugs, it is because the Tier 1 gangs and U.S.-based street gangs are contracting and working directly with these cartels. And I will go back to this, and that is that they will not stop. They can't. They're going to have to be stopped, and we're going to have to really take extreme aggressive action to fix this.
How has the open policies, the basic catch and release, and this stimulation of a mass wave of migration by having an open border facilitated this process?
This is it. I want to be very clear here. Historically, your cartels, the Mexican cartels, we call them drug cartels because that's what they were. Today, they are in over 54 countries around the world. This is not a U.S.-Mexico problem, ladies and gentlemen. Cartel Jalisco in New Generation, we know, is in 48. This will not stop. And now they've transitioned into the final version of human trafficking known as debt bondage. And I am holding it in my hands. This is it. This is how emboldened they've become. So I can't stress to you that you have to take extreme action to go after these cartels and to truly create relationships with Mexico and the rest of the world in what we call a unified command and treat them as the dark networks that they are. And I'm happy to discuss that with you as to how to go after them.
Thank you. I now recognize the ranking member for